Okay, everyone. Welcome. I'm just adjusting my camera. All right. All right, everyone. Welcome. We have to turn on another light. There we go. Sometimes I feel very naked without a little bit of Christmas lights behind me. Uh, so again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for Medicine Buddha. Um, For those of you who are new, my name is Lama Rod. I use he, him pronouns. Um, and I am living and teaching on the ancestral land of the Muskogee Creek and Cherokee people. Um, and yeah, so welcome everyone. Some of you have been seeing a lot of me in the past 2 weeks. It's been busy. Yeah. Being in Peru, and some of you are joining me, who were with us in Peru, and then Southern Dharma, some of you are joining me from Southern Dharma, and then some various talks last week, and um, then from this weekend, from our holiday frolic, which was really fun. It's going to be a yearly thing now. I have this vision of something a little more out there next year. Like, what's the intersection of like a holiday, like talent show intersecting with a meditation retreat? What would that look like? We're gonna find out, I think, in a year from now. So, you know, so it's good. Yeah. So you can, if you're new, or if you're anyone, you can go ahead and just add, just say hello in the chat box so I can get a good sense of who's in the room. What else? This seems a little bright today. And also go ahead and start adding prayer requests as well. Oh, it is a little bright. Let me just bring that down just a little bit. Tone matters. Tone matters. That's a little bit darker now. But I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay. All right. So yeah, prayer requests. Just anything that you're wanting to hold prayers for. Questions can be added directly to the ask a question kind of box right at the bottom of your screen. Let's see, anything else? And I should have time at the end for questions without going over so much as well. Right. All right. I still want this to be a little different though. Let's just do that. That's a little better. So I wanted to before we begin, I don't want to talk too long. I really want to get us into practice and have a nice long practice tonight. But I wanted to um, again talk a little bit about prayer. And probably, for a lot of folks, I mean, probably, um, may not have heard, some of the teachings around prayer. It's in one of the past sessions. I don't know which one. One day we'll organize it and catalog it and put it up somewhere in an archive. But you can go through them all and see what you find. But so when we start talking about prayer, and for me, prayer has become a very important practice. Uh, um, for years, but like definitely I have noticed a re-engagement in prayer and a deepened belief in the power of prayer. And prayer is, I align again with like magic because it's about shifting, it's about moving, channeling, intention is energy, and we're shifting energy towards outcomes, right, that we're wanting to see. And of course, prayer, we think that prayer has, is always positive, but prayer can also be, used for negative ends, for harm, and for violence. But of course, what we're praying for is liberation. We're praying for healing. We're praying for balance. I believe prayer has to be a part of action. I think prayer is how we discern. Prayer is how we focus. Prayer is how we practice vulnerability. Because the most powerful prayer is a prayer that comes from this deep kind of open-heartedness and a deep truthfulness. And of course, we don't necessarily have to direct prayers to, any source of refuge or any being, but that prayer can just go out right into the universe, and those prayers will be captured, right, and those prayers, that energy begins to create movement. It's like a domino effect, right? It's like, or like a ripple effect. These ripples go out from our own minds, when we're praying, and that creates this effect, and these ripples begin to create other ripples and so forth and so on, and prayers begin to move things, change things, right? It's not to say that like what we pray for we always get, but prayers always help in some way, when we're working through a practice like medicine Buddha. So deity practice in Tantra is about connecting us to our truest self, our most authentic self, our Buddha nature, right? So when we're praying to and through a meditational or wisdom deity like medicine Buddha, then we're actually training and connecting and channeling through our own wisdom minds, our own wisdom natures, our awakened nature, right? Because medicine Buddha, as a wisdom deity, is only a reflection of our own enlightened mind, and that's what a wisdom deity is. A wisdom deity arises directly out of emptiness, and what we would say in Vajrayana luminosity, but what I call potential. So potentiality is this energetic quality that pervades emptiness. So emptiness isn't empty, it's not a void, it's not nothingness, it's like a suchness. There's a suchness in emptiness. But when we say emptiness, what we're saying is that, there's nothing tangible, there's nothing solid, there's nothing that isn't impermanent, Um, and from this suchness or potentiality or luminosity, that's where phenomenal reality arises. You but so going back to wisdom deity practice, right? Wisdom deity practice is leading us back to this basic emptiness and potentiality, right? So wisdom deities arise from it. We develop a relationship, right? And that relationship is beginning to see that wisdom deity as simply a reflection of us. And then through that relationship, that deity can lead us back into this kind of, primordial experience, like primordial, this unborn essence of things that is which its essence is emptiness, right? And suchness. If that makes sense to you, So when we're practicing with Medicine Buddha, when we allow our minds, like our awareness, more specifically, to mix with the arising of Medicine Buddha, then there's a kind of experience where we begin to lose ourselves in the experience of the deity, which is simply an experience, right? Of our true nature. And so when we do the ending parts of the practice, which is what we call completion, when we start entering into the completion of the practice, we dissolve the deity, but our awareness in the sense of self is dissolving with it, right? So our awareness just kind of dissolves and mingles with this primordial emptiness and luminosity. And yay, that's the secret of Tantra. Now, quite frankly, I really don't remember this ever being explained to me in this way when I started out in practice. I was perpetually confused. I just kind of walked in the door, and this is what the lamas were saying. This is exactly what they were saying. I was like, I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. But I knew it felt right, but I couldn't really tell you why it felt right. But now at this point, I have enough practice experience to understand that. So for those of you who are new, right, to anything like this is what we're doing. We're trying to Tantra, well, the Buddhist side of Tantra. Because Tantra isn't always... Tantra... really historically, right, isn't this clean cut kind of whitewashed thing. Real authentic Tantra, like there is a visceral jolt to these ancient rituals, and some of you have been to India, some of you are, your ancestry is Indian and so forth, but I've been in enough situations in my trips to India in actual tantric ceremonies where you're like, ooh, that's a lot. this is a lot for me, but I'm drawn to it because there's something. Tantra is something that, in its most authentic form, is no bullshit. It's like either you're going to get free or not, right? And if you're going to get free, you're going to have to deal with awakening to the complexity of reality, right? To the complexity and the play of light and dark, and how Tantra is also actually saying, you know what, if you want to get free, you have to master the darkness as well. You can't just stay in the light, right? The darkness has to be related to, and the darkness has to be channeled into awakening. And that's the thing that excites me the most, right? Is getting the tools and the practices to enter into the shadow, right? Um, Let me see if I have any. Oh, I have something. I have a visual aid to show you. I'll be right back. I have Medicine Buddha right here, up here, but I don't feel like taking it down. So there we go. I'll be right back. All right. So this is, you can see that well enough. Oops. Do it at an angle so the light doesn't reflect off of it. So this is, I know it's hard to see, but this is six-arm Mahakala, or in Tibetan we call him Tridrupa, which just means six arms. And so Mahakala, or six-arm Mahakala, there are all kinds of different Mahakalas. Black, red, white, different, This is black, six-arm Mahakala, one of the main protectors in the Kagyu school, and also one of my main deities as well. And so when I started practicing in Tantra, and Tantra was the only, or Vajrayana was the only tradition I tried. I didn't, kind of shop around. I really advise you, if you're a new practitioner, to shop around, to explore different traditions and lineages, and go to different places and explore different kinds of practices. But when I started getting interested in Vajrayana, when I started getting interested in Buddhism, like Vajrayana was it. Like it was no doubt, because of actually being exposed to images like this, these images of these, what we call Dharma protectors. And by the way, Mahakala is basically Chinrezi or Avalokiteshvara. And of course Chinrezi is the Buddha, or a Bodhisattva technically, of love, right? And so we say that the Dalai Lama, right, is Chinrezi. So this being is an expression of Chinrezi, this fierceness, and people, come into these images and they're like, oh my God, this is like a demon, it's like a monster. But I never even thought that, I just thought, wow, like look at this really intense arising being who doesn't look like they're going to take any bullshit. Looks like they're going to like cut through things and get shit done. I was like, well, this is the tradition I need to be in, right? And then in a very, kind of like broken down, well, not broken down in being broken, but like in a very simple way to explain this, I would say that there's a skillfulness to these kinds of beings in the tradition because they can take on the costume of our shadow and enter into the shadow, but who they really are just enlightened beings, right? Who arise only to get us free. So when we evoke protectors like this, we're actually developing a really skillful way to get into material in our minds that we're habitually running away from, because the power of these beings compels us and moves us into engagement, with a lot of what we would consider dark energy, right? And again, this is what really like excited me to be in relationship to these kinds of energies and practices. Of course, Tridrupa is a wrathful practice, and Medicine Buddha, which we're about to practice, is a peaceful practice, right? So like gentle in a way. And now in Bhumi Sparsha, we do have a protector circle, practice group, where we do protector practices. And I'm going to be offering some protector practice next year as well, based on Kali, and Shadrupa. Shadrupa or six-armed Mahakala. For me, um, Kali and Mahakala both they're mirrors of each other. I call Kali the mother. I call Mahakala the father, and these energies combine and relate. They combine and mix and relate to each other in my practice, and I want to kind of explore that more with others and practice as well. So anyway, but we are practicing Medicine Buddha, and in a real way, like really, like it doesn't matter what you practice. Like we think, oh, we have to pray to Generally for love, pray to Tara for compassion, pray to Mahakalas for protection, pray to Medicine Buddha for healing, pray to Vajrapani for power, so forth and so on, right? But really, if you're deeply devoted to a certain deity, a certain Buddha, then that Buddha can really do anything, right, that you need. It's really important. It's important that you kind of understand that Medicine Buddha can be fierce, and wrathful, right? Mahakala can be gentle. Like Mahakala can be about love and compassion and healing. It's about our relationship to the deity. It's about the depth that we cultivate with that deity. There's really no difference, in terms of the capacity of any awakened being to be of help. I tend to kind of, I guess, be oriented towards the wrathful practices and the darker practices because I work with just huge amounts of energy, and I have to. There's a way in which wrath, right, this really strong direct compassion has been something really important for me in my practice and in my life. There's just a power, right, to all the practices, but for me and wrathful practice, there's such a certain kind of power and strength, right? It's an audacity. That's what wrathful practices and wrathful beings are offering. It's an audacity. It's a staunchness that propels us through obstacles. So in any case, that's a little bit of that. So when we pray, going back to our original opening part, so when we talk about prayer, like you're opening to these energies. When I pray, it's just opening, right? I'm writing a whole little section about this in my next book about prayer. But it's just like this deep opening where we're being truthful about what we need to see happening. What we need to happen, right? And you're opening up to all the emotions around that as well. So this is a practice of vulnerability, but it's also a practice of surrendering. What are we surrendering to? Well, we're surrendering to our needs. We're surrendering to asking for the help that we need in order to see the things happen that we need to see happen. Praying. As we talked about this on Saturday, praying, in terms of like dreaming. So prayer is dreaming. It's like I'm also imagining what what it means or what it would be like for this prayer to be answered, right? And that's part of the prayer, like to offer a vision of what I think I need or want to see happen as well. That's part of the magic here, right? And this is why I kept stressing over and over, on Saturdays, at some, you have to start letting yourself dream the world or the situation you most need to bring about. This is like, I'll just use this example. It's Dr. King and I Have a Dream speech, right? I mean, that was like, you have to understand how profound that was. It's like, you have to, instead of kind of wondering about trying to do stuff and trying to like create all this change, and it's hard to do that if you don't have a vision of what that change is. Of course, that vision is going to change and evolve over time, but like, what are you starting with, and how can you allow yourself to actually feel that level of optimism that one day all things are going to get free, right? Maybe not in this life, right? But all beings can get free, and that's what drives the work and the actions of the Bodhisattva, is that there's a dream there. And that dream is a deep conviction that every being can get free, right? That's what we're investing in, right? But to fuel that dream, you have to fuel the personal dream that I can get free, like that it is quite possible for me to get free. If I can get free, others can get free, right? And the further I go along in this project of freedom, the more I begin to realize that I have to offer something back to people who are trying to get free for themselves, So I'll answer this question from Amanda. What is suchness? Suchness is, again, another word that's hard to articulate because it's an experience. So suchness it is where phenomena arises from. And where that is in Tibetan Buddhism we would call it luminosity or light, but it's not light, like it's energy. It's this basic primordial energy that is shapes into phenomena. And that is suchness. So when we talk about emptiness is not this nihilistic thing, right? It's not just a void. There's emptiness and this suchness, this energy, right? And what we're trying to understand in our practice and experience in our practice is a return back to that suchness, right? Not just the emptiness directs us to the suchness, right? We say, well, the essence of everything, is empty, but where does this phenomenon, if everything's empty, where does phenomenon come from? Like if everything is really, really empty, so what are the conditions, what are the materials that are present that allow us to be having this experience right now? And that's the best that I can explain the suchness here. Maybe we'll get there in practice, Again, it's where our practice of the wisdom deities leads us, But again, I just wanted to point out. I don't want to complicate this whole deity thing, but again, I want to point out too that that when we have experiences of deities, for instance, Medicine Buddha, we may have experience in dreams, or we may have experience in visions, and all, that kind of thing in our regular life. It's not always the deity. It's not always Medicine Buddha, but there are deities, often worldly deities, that can take on the appearance of wisdom deities. And the worldly deities are not enlightened deities. There's still some sense of self, but they've reached this level of existence, that they have this incredible power and influence over many different realms, and for those deities who have committed to the path of awakening, who are deeply entrenched in compassion, bodhicitta, and they take on the work of the Buddhas and these high-level bodhisattvas, and they may take on their appearance to help us. And the same thing can be said of great, realized masters, right? But there are beings who take on the image of great masters as an extension of that master's realization, right? As we talked about before, local deities who are associated with a particular place, local deities survive actually by essentially pretty much pretending to be other deities that the people in that area are into. So we talked about, the Catholic Church and missionary colonization, and moving into indigenous communities. How indigenous worldly deities, it just took on the appearance of Jesus, Mother Mary, the saints, and it's how they survived. So you kind of go. Sometimes you go to church, you think you're praying to Mary in this space, within the energy of this space, and maybe some other deity associated, with Mother Mary. It's all really fascinating and really interesting. But let's get into practice as well. So I'm going to offer the prayers a little later once we get into our practice. But to begin with, just allow yourself to come into a position that feels appropriate for you. Get the drum ready here. So we're going to begin actually with our first mantra, which is Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. And this is the mantra that begins to call the awakened energy, the awakened consciousness of Medicine Buddha into our space, into our bodies, into our minds. And so when we begin chanting this, and you don't have to chant it, you can just kind of listen. But when we begin chanting this is prayer, right? This is when prayer is actually beginning, because we're asking for Medicine Buddha's enlightened consciousness to arise, which is just awakening of our own enlightened consciousness, right? So we're evoking our most direct, essential, compassionate self, And maybe because we don't get that for ourselves, we're choosing to kind of acknowledge this medicine Buddha, right? This awakened being, and that awakened being helps to mirror back to us who and what we are, right? And so that's like the skillful means of this, right? So Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha, which means, O Medicine Buddha, please really know me. So O Medicine Buddha, please know me. But Kino, this word Kino, I want you to just translate it into whatever you need tonight. So if you need Medicine Buddha to think of you or to know you, that's fine. Sometimes we can translate Kino into Medicine Buddha, please heal me. Please be with me. Please walk with me. Please abide with me. So even if you don't feel a deep connection to the essence of Medicine Buddha, you can still practice acknowledging what you need right now. Like, what do you need from Medicine Buddha? This is the gateway, into this relationship, asking for what we need and allowing that openness to begin to awaken something within us and to awaken something around us. So we'll begin. O Kino, Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. Okay. Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha. And so at this point, what does it mean to open to the energy that you just called into the space? And to know that when we call, like the Buddha show up. So Medicine Buddha has appeared. We may not sense Medicine Buddha or feel them, but we can develop this trust that they've arrived, they're here. And when we call one Buddha, all the Buddhas come, regardless if you call them or not, right? Because all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas are intertwined, right? They're like a net. So if we just pull one piece of the net, the whole net leans towards us. So we picked Medicine Buddha, but all Medicine Buddha's helpers and retinue and other awakened beings are now leaning towards us as well. So we're going to work just a little bit with the breath. If you're not able to be with the breath moving forward, we're going to just take a break and I'll come back and get you in the practice. But we're just going to start just by turning our attention to the breath, just noticing the in-breath and the out-breath, nothing more. And when you're ready, shifting your attention to the heart center. Imagine that you're breathing in and out of the heart center, noticing the sensation of the chest rising and falling. And when you're exhaling, wonder if you can imagine just releasing, all the stuff that you've been holding on to today. Anxiety, worry, fear. Can you release that with the out breath? Let the out breath, the exhale, accompany that energy out of our experience. Again, releasing, letting go. And if you're not working with the breath, just imagine that this energy, the things that you don't need, just slowly begins to radiate out of the heart center, like you're just releasing, letting go of it. Imagining it just floating out of the body. Just a few more moments here. Again, releasing through the breath or just letting that energy out of the body. And when you're ready, we're going to shift our attention actually down to our seat. Noticing this sensation of our bodies making contact with the seat. And just taking a few moments to practice what it means, trusting the seat to hold us. So can you surrender to the seat? dropping our attention even lower, beginning to touch into the earth under us. Just acknowledging the land, the earth, acknowledging the energy of the earth. And what does that energy feel like? And I know some of you have been really struggling because when you're connecting to the earth energetically like this, you keep contacting trauma, right? And that's more about us than the earth actually being in trauma, because we're often reaching out from a place of trauma. When we reach out from a place of trauma, we're going to connect to trauma, right? And so what we're trying to do is reach out from a place of openness, of space, right? And that's going to get us into the actual essence of the earth, which I say the consciousness of the earth, right? It's going to get us into the consciousness of the earth, which is a reflection of our own consciousness, which is awakened, spacious, clear, So trying to connect to like this very basic expression of the earth, this clarity, this spaciousness, this openness. And from there, you can connect to a particular energy of the earth, what we would call the energy of stability, the energy of stillness, the energy of, richness, nurturing, however you want to call that. So as we're touching energetically into the earth, we're gonna say, chant the mantra one more time, a couple more times, Om-Mela Sangye Kino Soha. And allow the mantra, the energy of the mantra to connect you to this awakened, liberatory consciousness of the earth itself. Okay? So here we go. Om-Mela Sangye Kino Soha. Om-Mela Sangye Kino Soha. Om-Mela Sangye Kino Soha. And so moving even further into the practice, I want each of you, in a prayer to the earth, to ask the earth to rise energetically to hold you. By asking the earth to express itself in its most direct, essential, liberatory way, to fill our space with this energy of earth, and for me it's the energy of stability and stillness, to feel the stillness of the earth arising around me, to feel that stillness holding my body. And imagining that I am leaning into, or reclining actually, into that energy and just being held, right, by the energy that we're connecting to. And so letting go, this is going to require letting go of conceptualization, of thinking, of imagining, and tuning into this essence of energy, right? If it's stillness, connecting to the stillness that's rising. If it's the energy of stability that you're connecting to, feeling that stability, or firmness, or foundation, or richness. Again, not connecting to the trauma, but connecting to the space, the liberation, the groundedness. And continuing to release the energies that you don't need, the energies that get in the way of connecting to the earth like this. So we'll move into our mantra practice. Our main mantra, which is Tiyata Bekenze Maha Bekenze Latsa Sumungate Soha. O Tiyata Bekenze Maha Bekenze Latsa Sumungate Soha. And one more thing, as we're chanting or listening to the chant, our main practice in the first part of our mantra practice is just leaning into this energy of the earth, letting it hold us. And we'll continue to progress deeper into the practice with the mantra, okay? O te ata Bekenze Maha Bekenze Raja Sumungate Soa Te Ata Bekenze Bekenze Maha Bekenze Raja Sumungate Soa Te Ata And now stepping even further into the practice, I invite you to imagine that this energy of the earth begins to saturate your body. Like slowly this energy begins to sink into your skin and tissue and bones and muscle. Right? That your body, as well as your mind, is essentially drinking deeply from this energy. And as you're being filled with this energy, you're beginning to let go, to surrender, to be held even more deeply by the energy of the earth, which is, for us, an expression of Medicine Buddha. And letting go and letting the earth hold sensations and experiences of the body that we struggle with. Letting that energy of the earth deeply penetrate these experiences. And slowly we begin to imagine that we are radiating this healing energy around us. That we become like stars, radiating this healing light that begins to push back the shadows of delusion, doubt, illness, violence. The real work of creating change and disrupting violence has to begin with this profound practice of allowing the energies around us, the awakened energies around us, to begin to disrupt the violence within our own minds and bodies by allowing this energy to deeply saturate us and to surrender the things that we struggle with into the compassion of these energies. We can call it the earth, we can call it Medicine Buddha, we can call it Mahakala, Akali, or Chinrizi, or Christ, or Mother Mary. Whatever we call this energy, surrender what we struggle to hold to that energy. And we begin again with the mantra. Raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze raza sumonga soha te aja begenze begenze ma begenze Now continuing to allow this energy of the earth, which is also an expression of Medicine Buddha right now, continue to hold you. We will offer our prayer requests. So as we offer the prayer requests, I invite you to imagine that this radiance, this light of healing that's beginning to radiate from us, that you begin to direct this radiance, this healing energy, into the prayers of those that we're offering for, or into the experiences and lives of those whom prayer is being offered for. Imagine that this light just infiltrates these experiences of illness, or struggle, or confusion, or these experiences of being crossing into the experience of the bardo or the spirit world, right? Imagine that this light is just helping alleviate the suffering of those that we're praying for. And as always, I summon and call the attention of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the Dharma protectors, all the great teachers of all the great lineages and traditions of authentic liberation, all the beings of light and the beings trying to help to free. I call all these beings' attention to our prayers, asking that you ally with us, join us as we work to fulfill the aspirations of these prayers. We begin by offering prayers for Kelly, who is struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome, and all beings working through chronic disease and suffering. We're offering prayers for liberation for all. We're offering prayers for all wounded inner children in every place and in every time. May we be healed and integrated and live in equanimity. Prayers for those who don't know what to pray for or how to pray. Prayers for all of who are healing the wounds of their soul. May we navigate with more clarity and ease. Offering prayers of gratitude for the early detection of breast cancer in my friend Nancy, and that none may be detected in lymph nodes during surgery. Prayers for everyone feeling alone and joyless, for oppressed people, prisoners, and everyone who is unwell. We're offering prayers for motherhood and mamas healing from experiences of violence. We're offering prayers for workers and their families struggling from the fallout of tornadoes and corporate greed. Offering prayers for Lama Rod, our teacher. May I continue to be held and supported as I work towards freedom. Offering prayers for the 53 migrants who were killed in a traffic accident in Chiapas in southern Mexico, and for their families. Prayers for my mother to have a good transition into the next phase of her life after being forced to medically retire after 27 years working. Prayers for U.S. democracy. May calamity be avoided and a way forward found where the voice of all can truly be represented and heard. Prayers for Carol, Cheryl, and myself, and all others who work in toxic workplaces. May we all find freedom and heart-supporting work environments. We're offering prayers for Dom and all of my students. Prayers for our campus. Prayers for all beings on this Tongva land trying to get free. Prayer for like-minded people. My only connection is my therapist. I feel alone in the world. And therefore may you feel connection and belonging. And for all beings experiencing a lack of belonging and deep disconnection, may we all find home within community, within ourselves, within the light and gratitude and joy of the world. We're offering prayers for me and my family as we move through the dark of winter. Prayers for my aunt. May she let go and surrender to the profound wisdom being offered to her. May she let her heart break and let her loved ones in. Prayers for Nani and Tuli for their ever-growing light, love, and fire. Offering prayers for my father, Julian Harmon, who became an ancestor on December 1st, and prayers to heal the rifts in the family he left behind. May healing come deeply and swiftly to soften the hardness. We're offering prayer requests for the ancestors watching over us and the unhoused outside during this late fall season. Prayers for all dealing with natural disasters, the impact of our mother hurting and struggling. Prayers for those affected by and other harm this week. Prayers for all those who are lonely at this time of year. Prayers for sex workers, houseless folks, people with mental health challenges, and anyone struggling with loneliness, isolation, grief, or anxiety this winter. Prayers for 15-year-old Sophia, whose parents are both facing serious illnesses. Prayers for all those grieving the transition of their abuela. Prayers for striking Kellogg's workers down the street who rejected their TA and are ready to dig in for a longer fight through the holidays. Prayers for more conscious awareness and kindness with the self when it comes to addiction. Prayers for my dad who died earlier this year. Desiree Prayers for Desiree, who is attempting to radically alter her life. For my mom, period. My friend Andrew, who struggles to find contentment often, and has lost many folks this year. Prayers for my aunt, who is dealing with sickness and depression, and for her son, who is taking care of her. Prayers for Kalilia in the hospital. Offering a prayer request for myself recovering from knee surgery, and my friend Laura and her family. Prayers for my comrades and classmates KB and Oriana, who suffer from chronic illness. Prayers for all the broken hearts. Offering prayers for everyone navigating trauma and difficult family relationships during the holidays. Prayers for the Rosales and Greenwood families who lost their loved ones in a car accident. We're offering prayers for Melodoma, Some's spirits, traveling into the spirit world to meet the ancestors. Offering prayers for Noah and Caroline, cancer everywhere, Tate, who lost in deep depression, for KY folks, our ability to love all beings. Prayers for Jim, who is still grieving his partner who took her own life. And prayers of ease and comfort for all those struggling with eating disorders and addiction. And I want to offer, prayers for my uncle who had a successful surgery but a long recovery. May he continue to heal, and may our family continue to offer the support that he needs. I continue to offer prayers for Mike, for his liberation. I continue to offer prayers for all of us, all beings who are struggling to get free, who are struggling through systems of oppression and violence, that these systems be disrupted and eradicated, that we all may enter into a deeper relationship with our true natures. I offer all the prayers that remain unarticulated, unspoken. And I pray that any being, any awakened, enlightened, benevolent being who hears this move on our behalf to create the change that we need. That we ask all awakened beings to enter into this world system to be of help and guidance and stability as we continue to move through so much disruption and apocalypse. We call on the fierceness and the wrath of the protectors, of the guardian deities, to come and to offer us and to bless us with audacity, courage, bravery, to do the work that's needed to do, to free ourselves and to free all of those around us. May everything come to pass as quickly as possible. As we enter into our final round of mantra, that we, in this mantra practice, allow this light to fiercely radiate into the experiences that have been offered, into the lives that need this light, that this light radiates into every broken heart, every feeling of being separated or disconnected. And may this light heal and connect and restore all beings. And may this be so as quickly as possible. 오태야 자옴 백연세 백연세 마백연세 라저 수문가 제수아 태야 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 자옴 백연세 soa te atau beganze ma beganze rasa sumo gate soa te atau beganze ma beganze rasa sumo gate soa. So just moving just a little deeper into the practice. We begin to imagine that this light, this radiance of this earth energy, of the essence of Medicine Buddha, gets even stronger, radiating from our bodies. And slowly, we begin to imagine that our physical bodies begin to dissolve in this radiance and this light. We imagine that our radiance, this pure radiance, begins to push back all the darkness, the doubt, the violence, the harm, the confusion, the illness, the fear. One last time. And slowly, finally, we begin to imagine that our radiance, this light, this pure expression of who we are, is slowly being dissolved into the earth. Where the earth holds our energy in stillness and care and nurturing. And we begin to mix with the consciousness of the earth itself. Slowly we begin to call ourselves back into form, summoning our bodies back, summoning our minds back into this moment, shifting our attention to the weight of our bodies, making contact with the seats, allowing that sensation of contact to begin to ground us, to call us back into form and presence, calling us back into time. beginning to awaken the body through some simple movements, whatever that may be. It can be a sachet, it can be a shimmy, it can be a twerk, or just a simple stretch, simple movement. And then we will pull up Shantideva's prayer as our dedication of our merit, and a further prayer to become the medicine that beings need, which is the opposite of being the poison that people don't need. So we're going to recite this 3 times. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. All right, everyone, thank you so much for your practice. And before we sign off, just one more thing that's come up. Two things. That when we talk about liberation, what we're also talking about is how we must liberate phenomenal reality from our perception of it. That's how we liberate the phenomenal world, because everything has to be liberated, not just beings, not just conscious beings, right? But even all, like everything, the elements, right? Things must be liberated. The sky must be liberated, mountains must be liberated, cars must be liberated, food must be liberated, our iPhones must be liberated. All phenomena has to be liberated from the ways in which we are perceiving them, because perception, right, and how we choose to create things in our mind is a further way that we create like bondage for other things, including people. So through our meditation work, through a deep reliance in the deity, we're actually trying to, as we would say, develop this pure awareness, this pure taste of all phenomena, which frees phenomena to be itself. And the essence of all phenomena, including ourselves, is awakened spaciousness, clarity, emptiness, suchness. That's what we're always trying to, that's the point of all this practice, is to return back to this primordial essence, this primordial, simple, uncontrived way of being. If we're not doing this part of the liberation work, then we're not going to get there. Right? And this is the burden that we're taking on. We're not just working towards social freedom. This is the freedom of people and communities from oppressive systems. We're working to free all phenomena from the oppressive system of our perception of its realness. And that's it. So that's one of the secret teachings of liberation, is that everything must be liberated. Not just people, but all phenomena. That's what we're going towards. And this is why we commit ourselves to a path of meditation and contemplative practice, because we're trying to see and experience the essence of things, which in itself frees all phenomena. And so phenomena can be its most enlightened expression. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your practice. We'll see you Monday again. Okay. Please take care of yourself, and I will see you soon. All right. Thank you everyone.